beautiful downtown Guthrie. Welcome to Hit the Bricks.
Everything that's interesting about Guthrie, Oklahoma.
On location.
Yeah, we're at the beautiful Pollard Theatre.
A
With
staple.
a staple of Guthrie, downtown Guthrie, is our good friend Jerome Stevenson.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, thanks
being
for
here.
having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like well, you're like in the king's chair and I'm like his left-hand man.
These are the nicest chairs we've ever had for an
Yes.
And we just got these chairs, so I'm feeling pretty fancy sitting in them myself. I don't think I've sat in them since we've had them.
I'm not good. I usually kind of slouch a little bit, but I can't in these chairs because I feel like
Feel like you'd be more responsible upright?
yes.
And I had a tasty lunch, and so I'm like thinking,
Yeah, that's what happens when you close back in the seat. You put the head on the cushion,
Yeah.
you're in trouble.
I wonder if they designed these types of chairs back in the old days just so they could catch somebody's head when they fell asleep.
Probably, that makes
Oh,
complete
yeah.
sense.
They're super handy.
maybe so you can turn this way to direct.
Yeah.
You got a little bit of lean quotient. Yeah.
Right.
Hey, our producer extraordinaire, Aaron Ryburn, he's got a Guthrie police hat. Is he like on the force now, or when did that?
I think they gave him a gun.
Oh, Lord.
Even scary. I was nervous about the hat.
Is that the big surprise?
I didn't think about a gun.
Oh, gosh.
Maybe it's a taser. You have to graduate from the taser again, maybe.
Taser.
Oh,
You start there, huh?
If I would have known, I would have brought my badge.
They give you a badge?
Well, it's sticker, but it's a badge.
Okay. Yeah. They don't give me anything.
Yeah, the adhesive's getting kind of loose on it. But I need a new badge, Chief Swagger.
So we're on the verge of another season. Yeah.
We are. We're about to start our 33rd season. In fact, our gala, which is usually the first night of our season, kicks off our fundraising, just kind of wrapping up our fundraising event for the year, and that happens this Saturday at Oak Tree on the 10th. And then 2 weeks after that, we open Driving Miss Daisy, which I'm directing, and is starring original company members Brenda Williams and Al Bostic. They did the show originally in like 93, 94, and they returned to do those two roles again. So we're excited about getting them back and revisiting the show, because I've never directed the show. I've worked on the show in various capacities, but directing at this time and being a little bit older now that I'm aware of the play, it has a very different perspective when you're in your 40s and you're kind of looking at, being caretaker to your parents.
Oh, yeah.
That really starts to kick in those places where you have to say, okay, Mom can't drive anymore. How do we make this conversation work? How do we take that away from her? And so that's really kind of what we found interesting about it, is that Bully became a real central character for this time around, the son. And then, of course, Hulk and Daisy's story is really compelling, and so much so that it won an Academy Award, and it's a Pulitzer Prize winning play, so there's a lot there.
How long does it run for this show?
We run for 3 weeks. Starting the 27th.
Okay.
Is that right? I want to say the 27th. I can look around. The 23rd.
He's
The
got
23rd.
show notes.
Yes, it opens the 23rd.
23rd through September 7th.
And then runs through the 7th. So yeah, it runs for 3 weeks. Yes, look at there. You even got the art.
Yeah. So like going from one season to the next, does having that little bit of a break, does it allow you to kind of like that expectation to build a little bit? Or what's the difference between going from one show to the next, like during a season, and then having that going from season to season? Is there a difference between those things?
There is, because usually when we set up a season, we try to plan in advance, okay, what's the workload for each director? When do we need to bring a director in? Which one of these projects is suited to which one of our artists? And then making sure you can make your way through the progression, because you've got to obviously be at your creative best when you're directing. And then taking that break, we try to take breaks during the course of the year so that you can refuel. Like, I personally love to see shows. I try to get out and see as many plays as I can, either here or in Dallas, or if I'm fortunate enough to travel, I go to New York and see shows. I want to see as many plays as possible. I want to read as many books as possible. I want to go to the museum as often as I can, because that kind of refuels your creative storytelling juices, and you go, oh, the next time I do a play, I'm going to do this. And so you don't just kind of find yourself in a grind and going, I have no more ideas. I got no more ways to be creative or clever.
As an artistic director, you don't want to get to that point where you have no more ideas.
No, that's not a good place to be
No.
in. You want to be making sure that because not only are you responsible for the shows that you direct, but ultimately I'm responsible for everything that shows up on that stage. So it's my job when I hire directors or when one of my company members direct, I we set a predetermined date when I'm going to first see the show officially. There are times when I slip in and see something, but they're not showing me anything. I don't operate on the show, as it were, until this predetermined date. And then I'm able to come in and say, okay, here are the notes that I have. Here are places where the show is not, does not keep me interested, and does not keep me engaged. I'm not compelled by this moment, or it pulls me out of the show and I start thinking about laundry or whatever it is. And so we need to fix those moments. And so you want to make sure that you're at your storytelling best all year long, even if you're not directing.
Driving Miss Daisy, how are you going to get the vehicle in there?
Thankfully, we don't have to do that.
Okay.
Thankfully, we don't have to do that. The good thing about this play is it's very much in my mind, the way we're producing it is very much a memory play, because I think it's very much taken from Booley's point of view, having looked back at the latter years in his mother's life and seeing how this story between she and this unlikely friend took place and what it developed into. But everything else becomes kind of a game of let's pretend. So the car is built on stage, and we intimate, okay, this is what the car is, and the audience goes, oh, okay. And we go to multiple locations. They're traveling down the highway. They're going to a convention center. There's a ballroom that they're in at one point. There's the living room. They go to a cemetery. They visit a nursing home. So we go to a lot of locations, and we have to do that really quickly. And so one of the things we did is establish how we're going to present that for an audience in a way that they go, yeah, we got where we are, keep following the story. That's really the key.
You mentioned this is the 33rd?
33rd season, yeah.
I don't know why I was doing like weird
hand gestures. Forgetting airplanes.
Yeah. So, Chris, you grew up in Guthrie, so like for 33 years, you've seen the Pollard doing its thing here. What's it like to have a place like this, like in your hometown, and grow up, or as it being a staple for a town?
Yeah, it is a true staple here, but and I enjoy coming. I think where I get more pride is when I see like all the school buses and people from out of town coming here and getting to share, like, this is the Pollard, this is what's one of the cool things about Guthrie,
right.
And they take that away and go tell everybody else. I think that's the biggest thing I take from the Pollard theaters, is how well known it is and how popular it is and how people like to keep coming back to it, and just seeing more people come in and out from out of town, getting to share it with the state.
Yeah.
33 years, so how long have you been?
I originally showed up around here in 90. I was gone for a brief moment, and then I returned in 95 as a member of the company, and then in 2000 I was asked to serve as artistic director. So it's been a long arc. And I get to thinking about it, I was like, man, that's a big chunk of your life. You were running the joint for 19 years. Like, I used to think that was weird when people say, oh yeah, he and I have been friends for 20 years, or I've been doing something for 20 years. And now that's kind of the bulk of my existence, is saying something in my life is 20 years old, or I've had a relationship with this person for 20 years. That's really, wow. Like,
once you start measuring things in decades,
yeah.
weird.
Well, like, here's another thing that's off subject but kind of close like that. Like, my wife got married at 19. Don't get married till you're 25. Although she was right. But like, she was like, she's been an Evans longer than she was her maiden name.
Right.
Ain't that's kind of weird.
Wow.
You ever think about that? No, just me. No, just me.
All I know is that, like, I always refer to things as, that this just happened. Mm-hmm. And that usually means it was like 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, it just happened. Because the time for us is hard to kind of quantify when you're in it, when you're living in those moments. But yeah, we've been doing this for 33 years, and much like you, I was blown away by the fact that this existed here. If you had told me before I came to Guthrie that they were going to have a small regional theater in a place like Guthrie, Oklahoma, because remember, I went to Langston University for college. My great-grandparents on my father's side lived in Langston, Oklahoma. And so I always knew it was a real small town, real small community, and I thought, I'll go there, I'll get out of there, I'll go off to wherever you go after whenever you graduate. But then I discovered that there's this little small regional theater, professional theater in the middle of Guthrie, Oklahoma. Not only that, but they were producing kind of a wide variety of work. It wasn't simply, the 16th production of My Fair Lady or the 15th production of Guys and Dolls. I was blown away by that. And we've had artists that we've worked with, we were fortunate enough when we did this the last time, Driving Miss Daisy, we did it at Oklahoma Stage Center, and we produced it as part of their Stage Center Presents series, and our hope was a man by the name of Earl Hyman, who audiences will recognize as Bill Cosby's father on The Cosby Show.
Oh, yeah.
And he came here and he was like, this is here? This theater is in the middle of this town? How is that possible? And I literally had to look him in the face and say, I don't have the slightest idea. But somehow it's done it. And he was like, this is like what you see in a sophisticated Europe somewhere. You know, it's small, it's a resident company, they're all working together, they're producing diverse work. And the truth of the matter is that started because of the three people on that wall, Marilyn Branch, Don Coffin, and Margaret Herschel. They had this idea that it could be done, and they'd seen it done in Granbury, Texas, because there's a place called the Granbury Opera House. And then they thought, if they can do it there, then we could do it here. And I'm really glad that they did, because they did something pretty remarkable.
Stories like that, I mean, that's just so much pride you take from that.
There's a picture somewhere in this building of when they were kind of like renovating the lobby, and like it's like the facade is like down.
Oh, right.
And there's like a bulldozer in here trying to like, that's right.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just wild how much work it took just to get this place ready to be a theater company.
Yeah.
It wasn't like this was like ready-made.
It was already a theater, yeah, right.
Just do stuff. Did you, the first show, did you see a show here before you worked the show, or it was like?
I did. In fact, I was a student at Langston University. Buddy of mine said he was coming to a show that he was a senior or junior, and he said, we're doing a play in Guthrie, a show called The Mystery of Edwin Drood. Never heard of it. I'd never been here, never seen a play, so I came, got a ticket, watched the show, and I was blown away. Because, you know, I'd come from Tulsa, and I thought, okay, I know it's going to be, I know the quality that it's going to be kind of, you know, low end, everybody's got a barn, and we got some costume from the, you know, because it's a small place. And I was like, well, where's the talent pool going to be from? In a town that's got this size population, surely there aren't enough actors to fill a stage with a thing. And when I saw it, I was like, I have to work there. Mickey Skeen, who's our costumer, was the kind of mustache twirling villain, and James Ong was the chairman, and a guy who used to be the box office manager here at the time was Bob Thompson. He was the old drunk, you know, grave digger. And it was all of this talent from Oklahoma City. I didn't know that at the time. The choreography was fantastic. The scenic work was fantastic. It was a fully realized regional theater production. And I thought, I got to be there. So I literally found my way up here. I didn't have a car at the time. I found my way up here, showed up in the middle of the workday, and said, I'm going to sleep until somebody finds something for me to do, because I want to be down with whatever you guys are doing. And I literally just was going to move a broom around the stage, and then finally, after a couple of days of that, I think somebody said, somebody said,
get him a costume,
get him a screw gun and a paintbrush, and see if he can. And I just stayed here until I learned everything I could, and the rest is history, I guess.
That's so cool.
How do you? What keeps the drive going? I mean, I've 19 years, and you kind of do it. Where's the drive?
I cannot tell you how often somebody comes up to me and says, I saw your production of at Pollard, or, you know, anywhere I do a show, but particularly here. And they say, and it moved me to this action. Passing Strange, we get people who say, we saw this play there and it changed my life and it changed my relationship with my mother, or this, that, and the other. We get kids who did a show who says, I don't know if you remember me, but I played Tiny Tim in the production of Christmas Carol 18 years ago. And this is my son. And you're kind of like, whoa, you know. That motivates me. And then I think that the nature of the town, that the citizens and the donors and patrons of the Pollard are so smart and welcoming and engaging, and they had such extraordinary, have such extraordinary vision. Mm-hmm. They see the potential. They don't start it from, well, we don't have that now, or it's a really costly venture. They think it elevates the quality of the town. It elevates what we're doing and how we fit in the narrative of Oklahoma. And that's impressive. And I thought as long as they're doing that, boy, and I can be useful, I want to help them see that vision through.
Absolutely. Any spots opening for Eli Fortney?
Yeah, we're gonna, we've had Eli.
Don't worry, Justin, I got that question right. Did I get it right? Okay, all right.
We've had Eli in a couple of shows.
And Christmas
He
Carol.
was in Christmas Carol a couple of times, and we've actually had Justin on stage.
Really?
Well, I mean, he was on the crew.
Understage.
And he was under the stage.
I was about to say, how'd you get to the 33rd year? That's
I show up. This is awesome. I show up like the day before, the show opens, and to help as on the crew for a show for Little Mermaid.
Right.
And Jerome's like, "Come down here." I'm like, "Where's down here? Where are you?" And so he's down below the stage. It's like, "Just do this." And there's like little controls for the hydraulic lift.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "You can do this. It's perfect. It's easy."
Oh,
and
dear
I'm like,
goodness.
"No, it's terrifying. I could literally kill somebody."
Send someone up to the roof.
Yeah. And they're like, "No, it'll be okay." Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Start text tomorrow. You're ready. Let's go. Yeah, he's done that. Amanda has played in the orchestra on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
Stephanie, of course, is both in shows, and I mean, it's a family affair for the Fortneys.
Amanda loves to tell stories about how there were a couple of shows that she was playing in the pit when she was, 7, 8 months pregnant. Eli, so he was literally in utero in
At the
this
Pollard.
place and
Yeah.
experiencing the shows here.
That is awesome. I just met with a lady who is working with Allied Arts now, and she's doing employee giving, and she was a musician here as well. She's worked a couple of shows with Amanda, and she said, "I wanted to introduce you to one of my colleagues because I had such a profound experience at the Pollard." Every time I hear that, I feel like we're on the right track, and the fact that it's happening in Guthrie, Oklahoma, is all the more satisfying because you do underestimate what's happening here. And it means you're not seeing the full picture. What you're seeing is a stereotypical picture, and this town is just so much more than that. It's so much richer than that. The history is so much stronger. So that's really impressive for me about Guthrie.
And the surroundings of the town, you talk about a perfect night. You got the Pollard, you got several food options around here, bed and breakfasts. It is a complete
Jungle,
package.
you can go to you can do
Yeah.
various adult kind of drinks and that kind of thing. That's awesome. Well, and then you get stuff like the Banjo Festival that even elevates it that much further. I think that's one of the reasons why you've had groups like the Mumford and Son take notice of it, because it's small enough that it's not in the middle of everything, but it's progressive ideology-wise enough that they're doing cool things, that they're doing the Banjo Festival back when they had it, or the Bluegrass Festival. That makes artists take notice, because you're obviously cultivating art here.
Yeah.
Red Brick Nights, where you get the live musicians is happening, and it's like you're seeing all these varied people who I've never seen in Guthrie.
Yeah. It really is like a density of activity here. For a small town, we punch above our weight so much. Whether it's the Pollard, like you said, this is a town this size. It shouldn't have the Pollard, but it does.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't have all these different things, but it does. And they work together like really, really well to have to provide a pretty unique experience for people coming to a show, coming to dinner, staying the night, that kind of stuff. And kind of going back to like the experience here and what makes it like worth it. I love it. There's usually, I think, maybe a show a year where you really start to feel kind of like momentum building. Like you start people seeing it more than they come back again for
Right.
a show. Maybe I think of like Passing Strange, when you end up with people like who end up coming like almost to every show.
Kind of like devotees, yeah.
By the end of the run, it's like there's almost like this like bizarre energy
Right.
of people who were just like super impacted by what you guys create here.
Well, it's nice because people, when somebody sees something that has an impact on them, they tend to tell other people. And using that show as an example, it so resonates with our generation because we're starting to see that change in our lives where we're wondering if we made all the right decisions. And thankfully, that play is very honest in the saying you're not going to make all the right decisions. And there's going to be some real doozies in your life that you look back and go, I screwed that up big time. But I tell you one thing about that show, and it's the overwhelming thing people say to me. We've had people come backstage at that show. I'm in the dressing room. I have no idea how to get in there. Pants are not on, and they come in joyfully sobbing and hugging my neck and saying, I'm going to call my mother today. I'm never going to do that thing where I'll call her ID and go, I'll call her back. And, those kind of things, for me, are why you do a piece.
Yeah.
Because it resonates with audiences, and they know, you know what, that's a real thing. And it's not just a real thing, it's a thing that we share. Mm-hmm. Because the audience instantly knows, oh, pick up the phone. They can, they feel that. So that's really cool. And I completely agree with you. Every once in a while, we get to do a show where that momentum just grows. And it's for different types of audiences. Passing Strange is a completely different audience than Forever Pat's Always Patsy Cline. But yet that show has a following of its own. Sure. When you do a disaster like we closed last season with, it had a completely different audience because they had to know that 70s vernacular. I can tell you that at the end of this season when we do Puffs, it's going to attract a completely different crowd, not just because of the play, but because the town you're in feels like that certain series of wizard books. It has that vernacular, and so this play is all about referencing that series in a way that is fun and irreverent, and the fans will just eat it up. So I can't wait.
How do you, like, in terms of picking shows for an upcoming season, like, what in the world is that process?
Man,
other than just really, really hard.
Yeah. You read a lot of plays. Thankfully, the Pollard does it with a group, which is unique. We have what we call the Artistic Development Committee, and we meet pretty regularly. It starts with me reading a ton of plays, and then figuring out what haven't we talked about and who haven't we talked to. There are some seasons like Beehive where it was like, well, boy, we really need to make sure we talk to women next year, and women of a certain age, my mom's age group. So we wanted to do that Beehive musical because it's a celebration of the women of the 60s in rock and roll music. And I was like, that's a perfect show for our audience. But then we want to do things like, when we haven't talked to young audiences, we were like, and I say young, my age group and younger, so we pulled American Idiot out and said, we really want to produce this play. Sometimes you instantly know there's a thing you want to get your hands on and you want to do it. Puffs was one of those situations. I saw it in New York about 3 years ago. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan myself. I said, well, I'm going to go see the play. Went and watched it, loved it, and was like, that thing belongs in Guthrie. It belongs in Guthrie.
See, when you say that, and I think of Amanda, I'm thinking, will she be here to watch it, or will she be in the play? Because she's all in. I'm trying to help her out here. I'm trying to get her a little gig here. She's a big.
She's about it. Like, yeah. I think, it's tailor made for her.
Did I get that right, Amanda? Right, Puffs.
Okay. Really well.
Okay.
You're filling all the boxes.
Yeah.
Check.
Real quick, take me through the transition of the Christmas Carol, because that has been around. It was around for a long time. It brought in hundreds, thousands of kids in schools from around it. And then obviously you had to transition away from that. What was that decision? Was that an easy decision, a no-brainer decision?
Man, that was a tough one.
Yeah.
We knew the last year we did it, that James Ong, who was the show's star, would not appear in it again.
Yeah.
We knew that he was just kind of wearing down, and I said, maybe it's time to think about finding the next generation of Scrooge. But when we started looking at that year and producing it, one of the things that we decided that to do a new Scrooge meant you really needed to do a new production. You needed to have a new way of looking at it and maybe more fully realize it or invest more money in the set. We also had to set the scenic things for 12 to 15 years. And so when you're building sets out of lumber, and you're taking them down and putting them back up and taking them down, they start to wear and tear. And we were like, we've got kids on this set. We've got children on this set. We can't have a set that is subpar. It needs to be make sure that it's sturdy and they jump around and everybody's safe when they go home. And so it became a question of, one, creating a new production, which was going to take some time to really rethink. Two, redesigning the set and rebuilding it, which when we first did it, there were 17 people working here pretty much around the clock to get that thing built. Now there are 7 people total who work in the building, and it was like, we're gonna have to find a place to build it and the people to help us do that. And then we had also heard, and we have this the marketing information that tells us there are a series of years where the growth of Christmas Carol goes up, and then there are a couple of years where it tanks because it's people have seen it and they need a break, and they see it and they need a break. And we were at the end of that crest, and we thought now is the time, if we're going to walk away from it, to walk away from it and re-envision it, come back with a brand new production, and more importantly, find the right Scrooge. Because that was the thing that was the biggest question, is who was going to replace the guy. And as we did it last year, when we first talked about not doing it, the answer was pretty simple. I was like, Christmas Carol is a celebration of the holiday. If the audience comes and 50% of them remember the old production, there's no way for them not to be slightly saddened by it. So going into the Christmas show where they're kind of going, oh, isn't a very good holiday. Yeah. So we decided we better walk away from it for a little bit.
Christmas sorrow.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't play as well.
Oh, humbug.
And that's the truth. We wanted them to have a joyous experience at Christmas. So when we found It's a Wonderful Life, and we thought that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's it is the American version of Christmas Carol, where Christmas Carol is a quintessentially European story, and we adapted it for Guthrie. A Wonderful Life is uniquely American. It's film. It's Frank Capra. It's very post Second World War. It's very much about when the American dream is yours for the taking and you can't seem to get your hand on it. Do you still value, is your life still a success? And that was a story that we thought, that's uniquely American and perfect for us at Christmas.
And I would think that would re-energize the staff as
Oh,
well.
absolutely, absolutely. And the audience this last year
yeah.
just ate it up and was like, oh, you got to do this for a little while. You got to do this while you, and we thought, well, great, we'll do this and take some time to really reimagine Christmas Carol. At some point, I'm going to get over and see what some of the other companies have done with their versions of the show, so that we're not doing the same kind of thing. I think we're blessed with the benefit of having Guthrie as central to the story, and then finding a way to tell that story in a way that's really cool and that makes audiences go, I want you to see this thing that I saw when I was a kid. It's slightly different, but it's really cool.
Well, and with this, It's a Wonderful Life, doing it as the radio play, just kind of fits Guthrie at Christmas time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that mixed with the Victorian walk and everything, it just all kind of sits together real nicely.
I think that's such a cool idea, because we didn't have a lot of radio dramas, but I remember vaguely those CBS Texaco Hour presents this all-star cast of whatever they're doing, and they're presenting it as a play on television. I remember those kind of events, and I thought those were cool. And so the idea we got to put it on a radio play and have the Foley operator creating sound effects, that was really cool to me.
Yeah. I grew up with my folks being NPR junkies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Prairie Home Companion has that kind of when they do sketches on there. I grew up, like every week hearing that.
Right,
And,
right.
It's just a cool
Love
vibe.
that.
So what else? Other shows you got coming up for the season?
Well, we follow Driving Miss Daisy with a production of Evil Dead, the musical.
Logical progression.
Logical progression. It's always about balance for me. It's always, you talk to one audience, then you talk to another. And then that is followed by It's a Wonderful Life again, which we'll be producing. We come back next year with a two-hand play about a couple over the course of their relationship called Love Letters. Then we're producing You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and we're planning to do that in conjunction with some of our friends in the local education business. We think it might be cool to partner our actors and some pros with some younger kids who are coming up, and maybe they can kind of understudy and we think even share a performance of the production. And then we're doing Puffs, which is called Puffs, or 7 Increasingly Eventful Years of at a certain school of magic and magic, which is real fun. So looking forward to that.
When it comes to the actors that work here, it's a pretty a tight-knit community of the acting world in Oklahoma. Like, what is it about the Pollard that actors keep coming back to work here? What's kind of unique about this place from an actor's perspective?
I hope, and I've been told this, but I don't speak for anybody. I think one of the things that they do is we focused a lot on craft as actors. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes in that has nothing to do with memorizing lines or gesticulating wildly and saying stuff. It's knowing how to resonate an idea with an audience, knowing how to get an audience inside your head to see you do a simple thing and go, oh my God, I know exactly what that person feels. And that's what we do because we don't have a lot of stuff on stage to hide behind. I'm not usually a big fan of big clunky sets that take 35 seconds to change each scene. I'm like, boy, a show needs to move. Audiences don't do that very much anymore. We're used to Netflix and quick. So, those old school slow scene changes don't work. And so when we get actors here, we're going to focus in on the strength of the narrative, on how to tell the story best and push them to the limits of their ability, which I think they appreciate around here. At least that's what I hope.
Cool.
Now, pulled up Guthrie News Page, did an article January 10th, 2018. Pollard Theater staple named recipient of the Governor's Arts Award. That was you.
That was me.
How cool is that?
That is real cool. That was a real cool thing. I won or received that award as a testament to the work I've been allowed to do here. There's no other way of putting it. I mean, I am the recipient of what the Pollard brings to the community. And you talk about why actors want to be here. So reason I want to be here. I want to be here because no place else that I find in Oklahoma in the early part of my career was producing as many different types of plays and producing them all well. They weren't just doing one type of thing. We've done everything from, Into the Woods to A Territorial Christmas Carol to the Laramie Project. We did The Mountaintop. We produced One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I mean, the list goes on, and all of those shows have been populated with really powerful actors and really great, strong and committed designers and staff, and they believe in doing that work here. They don't produce it in a way that says, nobody ever says it's good enough for Pollard. It's never good enough. You keep pushing until that last little bit, and that makes me really proud of the community that Pollard has created.
For our audience, the Governor's Arts Awards is an annual event recognizing individuals and organizations whose efforts have impacted the arts in their communities or throughout the state. And there's only a handful of those who get that every single year. So first started in 1975. Pretty cool.
It is really cool. I was really grateful for that opportunity.
You mentioned Laramie Project, I think Mountaintop, some other shows where the Pollard and the other companies have kind of partnered together.
Right.
That's pretty cool to see the different theater companies in the state working together to put on really meaningful, just top shelf works.
Right.
Is that when two different companies work together on something, is that a unique challenge or a unique, how does that work?
It's just like anything else. I think it has its pros and its cons. I've not produced very many shows with other theaters, with the exception of, we do a little bit of work with City Rep. And what happens there is that Don Jordan, who is the artistic director there, and myself, we're friends, and we start from the same philosophy of how to produce theater. And I respect their work, and I believe they respect ours. And so then you say, okay, this is a group we're on par with. We can put together a piece of work that's really good, because I don't think there's any reason to do a show or a music or whatever if it's not good. If you're not going to make it good, then don't do it. It's not worth it. And so we start from that same philosophy, and then we usually try to find, well, what show would neither of us do particularly well alone that we might benefit from having the extra support. The Mountaintop is a wonderful piece of theater, but it's a wonderful piece of theater, but it's not necessarily designed to sell tickets to a whole lot of people. It's really, it's a tough period in time. It's a tough idea. This idea that we're going to delve into King's emotional life and what he was going on that wasn't so positive for him. And so we both thought, I'd spend X amount of money to produce that show and I'd sell this many tickets. And they're thinking, well, we could spend half the money we would do and sell the same amount of tickets and still feel like we had a great impact on the community. So that's why you do a project like that, and hopefully how it's successful.
Cool. Has anyone ever told you should be a radio disc jockey?
I've heard that a couple of times. That's how I started making my money at first. I used to be a voiceover guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Selling barbecue or whatever it is you're hawking.
There you go.
Well, voiceover was the first thing that that my son Eli ever really did with the theater. He did it for it was a show here.
He did.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember that.
I can't remember what show it was. But I remember like we took him to like a studio in Edmond.
Yeah.
And you were like working with him on like trying like saying things a certain way.
I vaguely remember that.
I can't remember what show it was.
I can't remember what it is either because I've slept many times since then.
But I just remember it was fun to like watch like how you kind of like guided him into like saying things a certain way.
Right.
It was just kind of like a fun and natural thing.
And he was a real kind of quick study and fun to work with. He played back and you kind of got a response from him, so it was easy to kind of make that work.
Yeah,
but I can't remember what the show was either.
It was that super sad show where like the couple had lost a child.
Yes.
And,
Yep. It's The Rabbit Hole was what it was called. The Rabbit Hole.
Yeah,
that was
super
the name
sad
of the play. Gosh. Yeah. It is a super sad show. And that, that even the thing like that comes from. I had a more than I was surprised how many people I knew that had lost children, and I was reading a book during the year that was about how unbelievably difficult that process is and how it's exacerbated by the fact that nobody ever talks about it. First of all, you don't want to talk about it, and then when it happens, you've never talked about it, so you have no comprehension of how you process a thing like that. And I thought, that's worth talking about. It's painful.
Tough.
But it's super worth talking about. And it teaches us how not to, the play teaches us how not to judge the people who have gone through that and how to, you don't need to push them or force them. Everybody's like, you should talk to someone, you should talk to them. And it's like, that's not where they are. They need something completely different, and sometimes it has nothing to do with you. You can't put your hands on it and fix it. And I was blown away by all I learned. And so we produced it, and it sold the 8 tickets that it was expected to sell. But the 8 people who came and saw it, a lot of those people said, hey, that's happened to me. Or that's happened to my brother, and I know what that's like, and I'm really appreciative. I can't tell you how many people say that about some show or another. Vets talking about, a soldier's play, or military people who just fell in love with A Few Good Men and was like, I've never seen this as a play, I've seen the movie. You find something to talk to every section of your audience, and if you're successful, then they remember you and they come and see something else.
What about those people saying, well, that wasn't in the book?
You get that a lot. You get that a lot too. That's not how the book goes. The book doesn't have it like that. You ever can't do what the book says.
Well, you've already read the book. You already know what that was. We're going to do a little
That's a different story.
Yeah.
This playwright tells it different. To Kill a Mockingbird. Everybody talked about that for a year and a half, and then next thing you know, it was showing up on Broadway, written by Aaron Sorkin. So, there are those stories that they remember, that resonate with them, and they hold them sacred, and so you don't want to screw them up.
Sure. Is that like one of the unique things about like live theater, is that like you're not just watching someone perform and they're like you're seeing them experiencing things that it's kind of mirrored from your life, but you're watching them do it like in the same room with you, as opposed to like on the TV screen or a movie screen or something. Like, I don't know how to say that, but like you're in that room.
Yeah.
And you're watching them like do it live in front of you. That's just like a trippy thing to me.
And I think that the more you sophisticated your audience becomes, the more they're becoming used to what they're doing. At first you go and you see a play and you're just kind of sitting and you're watching. But over time, the more you've gone, you realize that you have the ability to change what you're seeing. You affect what you're seeing. If you've ever been in a house where an audience got tickled, it's typically because the audience did something that tickled the actor. And then the actors laughing, the audience see it, and then they laugh more because they're both being affected by one another, although we're supposed to be, in many cases, pretending that you're not there. Well, that's what makes it live and makes it interesting. We always say the play's not real until the final character shows up. The final character is the audience. They tell you when a moment moves them, or they go together, or you hear, you feel that, and oh no, man, now you got to pull back a little bit. Yeah. Now you've got room to really swing for the fence because they are so with you. You can see their body language start to change. That's what makes live theater different and better and cool, because we're in the room together. We're feeding, part of our job is to feed off of you, to feel you out as a collective organism, an audience, and then go, okay, you gave me that, so I'm gonna give you just a little bit of this. Now I'm gonna move a little bit more this way because I can feel you guys pulling back. You're uncomfortable. Now I'm gonna hit you with the big move. So,
man, all right, so tickets. They can buy tickets now.
Yep, they can buy tickets to drive-in stays now.
You can get them either at the website.
The Pollard.org.
Yes, Pollard.org, or you can come into the box office.
Come into the box office. You can buy tickets right there at the window.
People have done that since we've been recording.
Yeah. That's been pretty cool.
Yep, and there's air conditioning in here.
It is. That helps.
Very pleasant.
You can call up on the phone at 405-282-2800, and my hope is that people will just experience it. Not just the Pollard, but experience the thing that is Guthrie. It's, once you've done it, you're like, oh man, I should go there all the time. Because if nothing else, it feels like it's an escape from everydayism.
Yeah.
This doesn't happen in Oklahoma City. This is like a movie set.
Right.
In real life.
Yeah, and it kind of like allows you, I think the overall experience of this place, Pollard plus the things around it.
See, I'm starting to feel Fortney here.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Drive it in. I'm feeling it.
It allows you to rest a little bit from modern life, blah blah blah. There's so much that is taxing on us, on our minds and our lives, but the experience of the Pollard plus the hub of the things around it, it lets people find that respite from that stuff, and get to experience some incredible art that gets created here, mixed with the other things all around it. It's but the Pollard really is the kind of the hub of that wheel here, I think.
That's
We're
well
grateful.
scripted performance.
Thanks.
That is so good. It's so good.
That was the rousing speech right there.
Thanks. Well, whenever you produce that, Guthrie tourism play, yeah.
I've got a cast.
All right.
That's our Jimmy Stewart right there.
Okay, I had Eli a job, Amanda, and now Justin's got a job. So we'll see you next week.
I feel like that's the wrap.
The Fortney employment. Yeah. All right. Thanks for having us today.
Hey man, thank you guys for coming in. It sure was awesome to have you.
Coming home, coming home, coming home.